My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
All right, bear with me, folks. We're having a bit of a technical issue. One of the boards is not loading properly, so we'll be resuming normal broadcast in just a moment. I thought it was ready to go, and then it said, just kidding. All right, here we go.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810. KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Taking you to tax and go. Heading into twilight, spreading out her wings tonight. She got you jumping off the deck, shoving into overdrive. Highway through the danger zone. I'll take you right into the danger zone. You never say hello to you until you get it on the red line, low. You never know what you can do until you get it on the side that you can go.
Pardon me, and welcome into the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. I'm Rick Robinson. Despite what the date says, I promise this is actually Friday's show, not a replay of the one from Wednesday. I don't know what's going on because they've changed one of the setups inside Restream, and I keep telling it to change the title, and it keeps not changing the title. It's even showing that it has the right title going out on all of the streams, but it doesn't. So I don't really know what's happening. And unfortunately, once I go live, it does me no good to try to fix them because it won't actually change them. See, that's weird because one of them, most of them show right, but the one on my feed shows wrong. Even the one on the station's Twitter account shows. The only one that auto-updated was Facebook. That is weird. Facebook and YouTube. Hang on, let me check something. I wonder... No, that won't work. That's weird. I've got to figure out what's causing this. Because it's not updating. And I'm going to have to figure that out. All right, so I'll do some checking probably today before the show with Aggie and figure out why that stopped working. But at least now I know it's only happening on half the feeds, not all of them. But yeah, today is actually the 16th, despite what the X feed says. So for those of you listening on X, go ahead and push it out. I'll put out a note in a second that it actually is the right show feed. I don't know. Maybe that explains why my numbers have been so weird. Because for some reason, I guess I keep putting out the same show information over and over and over again. All right, so into the program, and then I'll take care of pushing everything else out on the break because we're going to go ahead and take the monologue break because now I kind of need to. I've been skipping it lately. But so you may wonder why I opened with a blatant song like that for today, and that's because Kami Lama Hamasnik, I said what I said, has released her first, shall we say, financial plan for the country. And it smacks of communism and plagiarism all in one. So not only has she now snagged Donald Trump's no tax on tips, she's now taken Vance's proposal of reinstituting the child tax credit and for first time parents giving them an additional tax credit for the first year of $5,000 and now upped it to $6,000. So I'm going to say it again. This woman has zero, as in none, as in absolutely none, in case you're just joining us. No originality, none. And hang on.
Kamala's a bitch, she's the biggest bitch, she's the biggest bitch in the whole
Hey,
wide
who
world.
let Cartman in here?
Kamala's a bitch, she's the biggest bitch,
Get
she's
outta
the
here,
biggest
you
ass
little-
bitch in the whole wide world. Well, except for maybe Kathleen Kennedy.
Get out of my studio, you little fat bastard. All right, anyway. So, yeah, fun times, fun times. I got to change the locks in this place. Everybody's got keys. All right. I know there's a camera now, so you guys can see that he's not really there. But it was fun when it was radio only. It's been a minute since I've done that bit. All right. Anyway, so I actually need to figure out how to get him like virtually into the image. That would be amazing. Speaking of images, I'm having way too much fun with Grok now that Grok version 2 can do imaging. Anybody else? Just me? Maybe it's just me. I'm kind of okay if it is just me. But yeah, I'm having way too much fun. So, and I talked about this one last night, but I'm going to talk about it again because, different show, and I can still kind of talk about what I want. I didn't expect him to be able to pull this one off. Hang on, I got to turn the camera off so you guys can see it. I forgot. Well, no, it's not saved as an overlay. So hang on, let me turn my camera off. I didn't expect him to be able to pull this one off. Now, of course, our newly appointed programming director and AI genius has cleaned up the image a little bit compared to the one that I have here in the studio because he cleaned up the Biden-Harris part at the top. But I didn't expect him to be able to do this at all, and it actually took several attempts to get it right. But when Grok did, I was like, "That's amazing!" So yeah, I've been having lots of fun. Actually, we've been doing some studio graphics. This one was not Grok, but this is now when Orty and I are live. We tell everybody it's live from Circle K parking lot. And then this was Grok. This was for Fubar the other night. I now have an image of Secret Amish Man and Polita Bunny in the studio that we can use at any time. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been interesting. It's been real. But it hasn't been real fun because as fun as all of this is, it's been terrifying to watch what's been happening in this country in the last month because history is being set all over the place. There's a party that basically, this is why that image exists now of Joe Biden being thrown off a bus. I made it a point to make it a yellow school bus for a reason. But it is why that image exists is because this has never been done before. Not in this way. I mean, there's been, and weirdly enough, I think it was the last time the Democratic convention was going to be in Chicago. There was a president who decided not to run, but he did that with enough time for them to figure out what they were going to do. Not basically being unceremoniously thrown off the ticket by one Nancy Pelosi. Sorry, Michael Loftus does a much better game impression than I do. I need to work on that one. But yeah, anyway. All right, so let me take a quick break real quick just so I can push the feeds out and everything. And like I said, I'm going to figure out why it keeps pushing out the wrong show date on 2 of the platforms. And because I guess I need to go in and manually edit those maybe before I go live. I guess I'm going to have to. They tried to do something to make things easier, and all they've really done is put some extra work in the long run. But I appreciate what they tried to do, so I'm not that mad. Anyway, you're listening to my show, and it's the Friday edition. When we come back from the break, I do have a new This Week in Democracy. For those of you that have been waiting for the replay of Behind Enemy Lines, that will still happen today. It just now happens at 5 p.m. Eastern because I've had to change my schedule around. So come back for that later. And then Aggie and I will be live tonight, too, as far as I know, doing He Said, She Said, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. KLRNRadio, slowly trying to take over the world, one platform at a time. We hope you'll help us. I'll be right back. I'm Rick Robinson. This is my show, and we're on KLRNRadio.com.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Isn't this exactly what you wanted? Isn't this what you were begging for? Waiting in your hour of desperation for someone to come scrape you off the floor. You're paying with your life, you see, for what you thought you got for free. Picking through the remnants of what was left, and now you're retained. Project Zoo. Kangaroos and camels all mixed up in a stew. Project Zoo. Lions and the tigers are waiting there for you. What exactly will it take to wake you to the looming sun over your head? And realize that what looks good on paper will only cause destruction in the end. Paradise lost to the whales, but those entrusted to defend. Now you're left with nothing more than barren shells and empty stores. Launch at the zoo. Elephants and pandas all mixed up in a stew. Launch at the zoo. Leopards and the rhinos are waiting there for you. Launch at the zoo. That's where all the sheep go, like they were told to do. Launch at the zoo. May just be the final launch they will ever do.
Emaciated zombies roam the streets, eyes sunken and wide with horror. The cupboards long since bare, they sift through the garbage for their next meal. The proletariat has nothing left, and the once happy children despondently play with the bones of their pets cooked for them the week before. They were told it had never really been tried. They were convinced that this time it would be paradise. Now they shuffle through the alleys of their collapsed utopia, hunger burning the remnants of their aching souls, consuming them in their cities in a pyre of impotence and rage, howl in defiance of the ones they chose to redistribute each according to their needs. The smoke rises to the ivory tower now as the elite look down in disgust at the ignorant and unappreciative, who would destroy what their wisdom and benevolence had so selflessly provided. Inequality is wrong, they cried, and in their mercy and in their fairness they made them all equal in misery. And as the flames grow higher and the walls begin to shake, it suddenly occurs to them. The zoo is empty, the animals are gone, and they are the main course now. And it's lunchtime.
And welcome back into the Rick Robinson Show. I thought this was the appropriate time to dust off an oldie but a goodie from our in-house parody band, the Third Rail Ramblers. I miss those guys. One of them's still with us. He does a podcast. He's been on a break for a while, but I haven't had any new parody work for a while. Well, I can't really say that. Our resident alien, now programming director's kind of stepped into that role very nicely thanks to AI. But yeah, so this is one that I came up with today, and I was going to load it as an overlay, but for some reason I can't remember exactly how I saved it, even though I just used it like 5 minutes ago. So what happens when you work all the time? But in case you're wondering, because you may not be able to see it very well, what it actually, it's exactly what it looks like. It's a bunch of Americans looking at a bunch of empty shelves and somebody in the front of the line saying, "Food shortages brought to you by Kamala Harris." Ladies and gentlemen, communism and any variant of communism has failed anytime it's been tried. But all we ever hear when we point that out to the people that think communism is awesome is, well, you've never done it right before. Except that's a lie, because we have done it right before. And it fails every time it is tried. Not just sometimes, every time. Look at China. Even China has started moving away from full-on communism because they kind of feel like they have to. Now, look, you don't have to take my word for it. Just read history. I know nobody teaches it anymore. So some of you, I mean, unless you're around my age, and a lot of our demographics are, some of you may not realize how bad communism was. But this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. The left and the media know they've been caught, because what they've been doing for the last few weeks, and I know I said I was going to do it this week in democracy, but we will probably after bottom of the hour break, because believe it or not, it's already almost that time again. But they've been cooking the books, ladies and gentlemen. This is the part that we're just now starting to understand. And I suspected something. What was it? 2 days ago? Yeah, because when I started digging in, it was yesterday. So 2 days ago, when Fox News put out their newest poll, they had a margin of error of plus or minus 7. The usual polling margin of error is plus or minus 4, and the reason they put it that way is because they normally oversample one party or the other by about 4%, depending on where they think the momentum is and depending on where they think the enthusiasm is. They typically oversample one or the other. So that's why I keep telling everybody, you got to just ignore the polls. The polls are good for nothing but a snapshot in that moment to figure out if you're involved in the campaign, where you should be expending your resources if you're trying to either make up ground or move pace out even further in front of the field. That's really all they're good for anymore, because they weight them weird. But since Kamala left, or I'm sorry, since Joe Biden got tossed off the bus and Kamala took everything over, it got even weirder, because for the first week or so, it was still plus minus 4, and it was standard weighting. They normally do. They normally do like 20% online, 50% through standard communication, which is like phone, text, and then they get some other stuff. I don't have all of it in front of me anymore. But so the first thing they did was they started doing 7% oversample. And then that still wasn't putting her far enough out. So now they're D plus 10. And now they've changed the weighting of the polls. They're now skewed more towards online responses and electronic responses, which has never really happened before. And even with all of that help, if you look at RCP and 538, she's still within the margins. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to make you understand something, and this is not to convince anyone who's on my side of the aisle to stay home and don't worry about voting. We've got this thing sewed up. No. If you're on my side of the aisle and you still believe that yeeting communist is something that we absolutely positively need to do at all times at a moment's notice with no hesitation, then you need to get out and vote. Vote early, vote by mail, vote in person. I don't care how you do it. Just get it done. Just get it done. That's just the truth of it, because that's where we are. Things are broken beyond repair at this point, and now they're even trying to retcon history. I got into an argument with somebody today, and I eventually just muted the damn conversation, because they're trying to act like it's been 20 years since Trump was in office and that we weren't really energy independent for 2 years, or at least, if nothing else, a net exporter of oil, which we were. Now, energy independence has different definitions depending on who you're talking to. But in my definition of energy independence is when you're making more money off of oil than you're spending to get back what you need, that makes you energy independent. Because at some point, that means you have enough on hand that if you want to, you can change how things are being refined and suit your own country's needs a little bit more if it comes to that. Because that's what was thrown in my face earlier today. Well, yeah, we may have been selling oil to other countries, but we were still importing a lot of it because we weren't producing the right kind of oil. Dude, the original post was about whether or not we were at a net export surplus whenever Trump left office. The original post and the sourcing they listed said no. Even the news said yes back then. I remember CNN crying about it in what was it? 20? I think it was 19. 19 was the first time they started talking about it. We don't understand why this is happening. He hasn't done anything. No, he did do a lot. But he didn't do government intervention the way you guys like it to be done, which is another reason why he didn't really get much credit for it, except for you guys crying about it on national news, was because what he did was he got the government out of the way. This is why I get so pissed off with everybody who's like, well, we need to hear what his policies are. What do you need to hear? One, he's not a commie. Two, if he was really the asshole that everybody thinks he is, they wouldn't be trying to do this. You realize that was just a month ago, right? And it's been memory hold. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it unless you're on our side of the aisle. And then when we bring it up, they're like, well, he just got a little scratch on the ear. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Let me tell you what the big deal is. Let me tell you what the huge deal for this for me is. Let me explain it to you since you wanted to ask a dumbass question. Because, yes, this is a conversation that I've actually had online, in case you're wondering. The big deal is that we're now finding more and more and more bullshit. So just in the last few days, a Secret Service agent was caught napping while on duty. Then we had a female Secret Service agent prove she was utterly incompetent. I said what I said. Because she left her post to go breastfeed her child in the safe room intended for the target with her family in there that didn't even get pre-screened. These are the people that we're putting in charge of who was a president and by God's grace will be again. That's what we're doing now. Is it? Because I don't like it. I don't like any of this. This man never had to run for president the first time, much less try to do it again. And now the left is like, well, maybe he's lost his spark because he's not actually being able to go up against Joe Biden and prove that he could beat him. Dude, he beat him the first fucking time. Let's be real. Let's take all things being equal and look at how even Bernie Sanders has come out and said, you know what? My own party robbed me in 16 and 20. Well, no shit. No shit. Welcome to the party, pal. Where have you been for the last 8 years? Hello, McFly. You knew it. You just didn't care because you were still on board. But you know what? When Bernie Sanders starts speaking out about shit like this is when you know that there's a problem. And I guarantee you a lot of it is the fact that a good bit of his party are Hamas-loving, traitorous fucking assholes now. And he wants nothing to do with that. Which is why he's finally starting to speak out about what they did to him in 16 and 20. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to go look it up. They used superdelegate weighting to make sure that he never got the nomination in both 16 and 20. Now they've basically done the same thing to Joe Biden. They tossed his ass right off the bus while it was still moving. And as somebody pointed out when I showed them the cartoon caricatures that I made with Grok's assistants last night, and then she backed over the motherfucker. And it's just the truth of it. We are watching things that have never been seen before, have never been done before, and nothing like this has happened before. I think this is part of the reason why the Trump campaign was just like, you know what? Let's just see what she does. Because we all know who she is. That's the other thing. And I know I've been saying this a lot, but especially to the pundits on my side of the aisle, stop. We don't need to know who she is. We already know who she is. Everything she touches turns to shit. Look at San Francisco. She was ranked the most liberal senator in America while she was a senator. Now you've got fucking WAPO coming out and saying, hey, when your opponent's calling you a communist, maybe don't suggest communist ideas. Sounds like a good battle plan, right? Hey, you know what? I think we're just going to skip the break and go straight into This Week in Democracy because that'll kind of count as a break for me anyway. So hang on. Let me get that queued up for you guys. Because I just realized I've been ranting and... Oh, wait. Probably because I... No, it didn't. There it goes. Now it changed scenes. Hey, look. It's got my name in the corner. Okay, anyway, sorry. I know, being a little goofy today. Sleep deprived. I'm also getting used to being Papa School Bus. And not as fun as you might think. All right, here we go.
The reason why the show is called Behind Enemy Lines, folks, is two things. One, me being from the People's Republic of New York, Ross formerly from this area, that we are Republicans behind enemy lines, but also as a tribute to Ross Galloway's service in the Guard. I'm not going to say what state, but in the National Guard. Brag on yourself a little bit and tell everybody your military background. I know that you're retired now, but tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Well, I'll say this, Gene. The two of us have spent more time behind enemy lines than Tim Walz. I could say that right now.
Ding!
It's kind of weird. My military background is almost, or I'll say it's very similar to Tim Walz, believe it or not. We both were in the National Guard. He did 24 years and retired. I did 27. We were both field artillerymen. We both wore the rank of Command Sergeant Major. I got to retire at that rank because I actually legitimately held it where he did not. Our units both got orders to go to Iraq back in 04, 05. I went and he did not. And I'm pretty sure that's where we're going to pick up today with, the differences between us two, I should say.
Right, now let's get down to business, shall we?
I don't think that either of us are here to denigrate his service. Let's start with that. I don't think that we're going to be here bashing about what he did, what he didn't do, but we want to clear up exactly what he did, at least according to what we're hearing in the press, and then differentiate that from what he's been saying. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, had he just ran around saying, I served temporarily as an E9, I retired as an E8 because I didn't finish the school I was supposed to finish because I wanted to run for Congress. And, I did 24 years honorably. And if he never intimated that he actually deployed into a combat zone, he'd be a really legitimate politician, in my view, right? Even though he's on the Democratic side of the aisle. But as you're going to prove with various clips, that's not what he did, right? He blurs the lines to make people believe that he was deployed into, hostile or combat zones, really. And it's just not true. And that's right. Where we're going after him, right? Nobody's denigrating his service, but you can't blur the lines. Omission is worse than lying in some cases when it comes to this stuff.
But, and in a deeper sense, I want you to give me also the backfill about how Tim Walz is viewed by other veterans. We're going to be playing some clips from veterans that served with him, or at least say that they served with him. Again, we have no personal knowledge. We've done no verification of this. This is what's out there in social media and what's out there in the press. I think that the most damning evidence you can have about someone's leadership ability is the words of those who they sought to lead. And if these veterans are representative of the majority of the people that Tim Walz was leading in the military, he doesn't sound like a great leader to me. And I think we should get into some of those clips right now. I want to start with a veteran who served in the Minnesota Guard. His name is Paul Herr. And he had some comments. We cut them down. We found this on social media. I believe this is courtesy of Alpha Minnesota. Check them out on the Twitters. And let's listen to what Paul had to say here.
He uses a mythical rank that he wasn't allowed to retire with, that he never enrolled into the academy. He only maybe wore the rank for a total of 14 days on the ground. So he has zero experience in any sergeant. I was a sergeant major for almost 13 years. That's almost a career for some people. I did the time. I've been to combat, been back. Been at high levels, and it's very frustrating. We wouldn't be saying anything if he just would have retired, said he was a retired master sergeant, a retired first sergeant, and just carried on about his business. The problem that we have with is that he's trying to get credibility with the military and with the public by fabricating some lofty position that reality he never really held and he has zero experience at.
Okay, so Ross, I want you to go into that. You held this rank, you retired with this rank. This is the highest enlisted rank you can earn, correct?
Correct. As far as pay grades, E9 is the highest you can get. A command sergeant major is basically the highest you can get on the enlisted side. There's only one that is higher on paper. It is the command sergeant major or sergeant major of the Army. There's only one. He works at the Pentagon, right? But that's like a political appointment, right? So for all intents and purposes, E9, command sergeant major, that is the highest enlisted rank. Even the sergeant major of the Army is an E9, right? So
Gotcha.
It's a position that he would be higher.
Okay, so now what's the difference between a command sergeant major and sergeant major? Because that's ultimately what Walls retired as.
No, so the E9 in the enlisted pay scales have two ranks that you can hold. You can either be a sergeant major or a command sergeant major. They're both E9s. You have to go to the Sergeant Major Academy for both of those ranks, right? A command sergeant major means you're in a leadership position, and a sergeant major means you're on a staff somewhere doing staff type work. I've done both of those positions. Command sergeant major a little more sexy. You know, you're the battalion commander or whatever level of command, echelon of command. You're the commander's senior enlisted advisor at that unit. So you can be at a battalion, a brigade, a division, and so on. So Walls wound up retiring as a master sergeant, which is an E8, because he didn't meet the qualifications to retire at E9.
This is getting a bit complicated.
So in order to make E9, you have to be selected, especially in the National Guard, by your state, right? Your state sergeant major, the highest ranking sergeant major in your state, selects you to go to the academy, right? The Department of the Army actually selects you to become E9, but in order to go to the academy to actually achieve and keep the rank, you have to be selected by your state sergeant major. And each state gets only a limited number of seats each year. And before you go to that school, which is 18 to 24 months, depending on when we're talking about here, 18 to 24 months long. In the reserves, it's probably a remote course. If you go in person, it's 6 months straight, right? So it's a very intense course. They brief you like, hey, man, we only got X number of slots this year. Are you 100% committed to going to this school and finishing and serving an additional 2 years at the rank of sergeant major to be able to keep it to retirement? They encourage you not to answer right away. Go home, talk to your family, think it through, see if your civilian job lines up with this. You come back, you give them the answer, and then you knuckle down for you're committing basically to 4 more years, right? 2 years for the school, another 2 years in a duty assignment. Walsh went through that. He agreed. He gave his word. And then he did not complete the course and retired mid-contract. He signed a 6-year enlistment contract, retired after 3 or 4 while he was supposed to go to the academy. And why did he do that?
Because of deployment. At least that's the word, right?
That's the word, right? They're playing games with the dates on that now. They're saying, well, the unit didn't deploy until like March or April, and he put it in his retirement in January or February. Here's the problem with that. At his rank, if he was indeed the command sergeant major of his battalion back then, the military or the Army specifically does something called a notice of sourcing, a NOS, N-O-S. A unit will get a notification of sourcing months before they go out the door on a deployment. That is to tell the unit you have X number of dollars to start training, do additional drills, all these things. So if he was indeed in a senior leadership position, he would have known months before deployment that thing was coming. So it's even more, all the more suspicious why he put in his retirement paperwork only a couple of months before the actual order came down to deploy, right? So to me, I would have to just say he ducked out of deployment, claimed he wanted to run for Congress. He went back on his word that he gave all the people in his chain of command that he would knuckle down, finish the school, and serve an additional 2 years.
Well, when you put it like that, sounds kind of shitty.
Okay, and now how does that look to the people under his command? Let's say that this notice of sourcing comes out. Everyone knows that they're going to be deployed, and all of a sudden your CSM puts in to retire. How does that look as part of the culture?
So can you picture this? Now, a field artillery battalion is somewhere around 500 people, right? And back then it was 500 men, because back in those days, females weren't allowed in the field artillery, most likely. So you're talking about 500 dudes from ages 18, into their 50s, possibly. All of them are reservists in the National Guard unit, meaning they have real lives. Some of them are in college, some of them are having babies, some of them are, have demanding jobs where a deployment will actually cost them money. So now you have to wrangle 500 individuals to get them on board to go to Iraq. And it wasn't Iraq, in 2010, 2011, which was still dangerous, by the way. But we're talking about 2004, 2005, when the insurgency was going off the chain, right? We had to do that surge in 2008 to try to get it back under control. So for your senior enlisted leader in the battalion, the senior guy out of 500 people on the enlisted side, to duck that deployment, that is pure cowardice and could cause chaos in the ranks. The E9s, especially this E9 that you have on the screen, that are talking smack on Tim Walz, that's almost unheard of, right? To be E9, you have to spend so much time in service. You have to jump through so many hoops. You have to dedicate your life to the military and go to that demanding course. You basically join like a brotherhood or the E9 mafia. To talk crap about another one, they deserve it, right? Walz is not an E9, really never was, didn't retire at it, ducked a deployment, and let his people down. And I could sense the frustration in this man's tone.
Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Here's another video from the Command Sergeant Major who actually succeeded Tim Walz. And he has a lot to say. And Ross, I'm going to stop this intermittently because I want to talk about describing the chaos that this CSM would have had to deal with after Walz retired.
Oh, how pathetic his leadership was as a National Guardsman.
On a 150-year-old farm in Brewster, Tom Behrens hopes his tell-it-like-it-is style will finally get the attention he believes it deserves in Minnesota's race for governor. In a way, he's back again to wage a public war of words against Tim Walz.
Like I said, this was back when he was running for governor, so this is a story that's been out there in Minnesota for a good long while.
He abandoned us. I mean,
go ahead, what?
And what about when Kamala was supposedly vetting this guy? Either they knew this was out there or they didn't really vet the guy, right?
Or they didn't give a crap. Or they didn't give a crap at all. All right, let's get to see what I believe his last name is Behrens. CSM Behrens retired has to say.
What the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
We'll get to Behrens' new message for voters in a moment. But this all starts years earlier when Behrens says Walz's misleading statements about his military service first led him to come forward in the fall of 2018. So you try to get this message out, but Minnesota's largest newspaper checks it out, says it's 100% true, but yet refuses to print.
When I hung the phone up, I said, what the hell is this, North Korea?
Back in 2005, a warning order went out to the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery to mobilize for a mission to Iraq.
Is that what you were talking about earlier, the notice of sourcing?
So a warning order would come, yes, the warning order would come right after the notice of sourcing, yes.
Okay, does it come quickly on the heels of it, or like when you're about to be imminently deployed?
It could depend, right? If in 0405, it might have been kind of quick, to be honest, because they didn't expect like stuff to be that crazy.
Got it. Okay, let's continue on here.
At the time, Walz served as the unit's highest non-commissioned officer, but months later, Walz would retire from the Guard, avoid the deployment, and run for Congress. Tom Behrens was next in line for the position and was asked to take his place.
I was like, well, for Pete's sake, if this guy quit, and if I say I'm not going to do it, I mean, what the hell kind of leadership is that? If a company would say that we're going to deploy to Iraq or somewhere and you're going to be gone for whatever amount of time, and then a foreman just says, no, I'm not going. I mean, what does that say to the 500 people that work in that factory?
Behrens would go on to serve in Iraq on a nearly 2-year deployment as a command sergeant major. All while Walz began using that title as a congressman. Behrens says he first contacted Walz with his concerns, sending these letters to Washington. They all went unanswered.
Now, you were talking about how it's unheard of for people at this rank to go at each other, right? He's sending letters. So this guy gets into office while, I guess, Behrens is deployed for 2 years, by the way. And Walz is not responding back. Is this coming from him or his office, do you think? Do you think that Walz would have most likely answered if it was actually if he was actually a man of honor, I guess, or do you think maybe it didn't get to him because he was in office and they're protecting him, like the people around him?
I don't think. I think Walls 100% knew, and whether he knew the letter existed or not, he would have done the same exact thing. There is no way that he thought that he retired as an E9. No way. I know his initial retirement paper actually did say it, and then a couple of months later, the Minnesota Guard caught up and did a correction to his discharge to put the correct rank as E8 Master Sergeant. But there is no way that Walls thought that he could retire at E9. Everyone that is getting close to 20 years in the military starts studying how to retire. As an E9, you have to be able to train your subordinates on what they need to do to retire. So he knew what the qualifications were to retire at that rank, and he knew he did not achieve them. Whether he thought he slipped one past the National Guard Bureau or the Department of the Army to retire at that rank, either way, unacceptable, right? He knew he was not a retired E9. He knew it.
And now let's talk about Barron's for a second. What kind of world of let's call it for what it is. What kind of world of shit did he walk into?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine going to war in a position that you did not hold up until a few weeks before you deployed, right? The command sergeant major's job, he's the senior enlisted advisor to the commander on all enlisted matters. He's also in charge of enforcing standards within the battalion, maintaining good order and discipline, and overseeing that all training is conducted to standard. So this guy, Burns, just took a unit to war that he did none of that with, right? Because Walls was supposed to be doing all of that. And then on the day of the Super Bowl, the guy took a knee and dropped out of the game. Unbelievable.
Let's keep going.
But then we fast forward to the election in 2018 in Minnesota, and you try at that time to get people's attention with this story and also with what seems to be a very misleading statement that he continued to make about his service.
It kind of just sat there, when he was a congressman, he bragged that he was a command sergeant, retired command sergeant major. I'm the highest ranking person ever in the House, and all this lie that he was telling. The state of Minnesota came out after 2018, after this was exposed, and they said, well, he can say that he served as a command sergeant major, but he can't say he's a retired one because he's not.
And that's what he.
Now, this is also something that I know that you have experience in because we worked in politics together, and we've had candidates who have had military service, and they want to use that in publicity materials, either mailers or commercials or what have you. There are very strict rules about what you can say and what you cannot say when it comes to advertising yourself and your service for political purposes, right?
There are. I'm not sure Walls, other than the Stolen Valor Act, which came out well after a lot of this stuff, I'm not sure Walls actually violated any of that. You just can't really do anything that may imply that the Department of Defense is endorsing you as a candidate, right? You can use one of your old pictures of yourself in uniform, but you have to put a disclaimer on there saying that, I served, and this in no way implies that the United States Army or the Department of Defense is endorsing me as a candidate. But what you can't do is lie about awards or service or certain titles, right? So now you're in a gray area with him. That's why they issued that statement where I guess he could say he served in the position, because technically as an E8, you can even serve in the position, right? Let's say your sergeant major dies in combat. Well, the E8 that is under him will serve as a sergeant major for a little while until another E9 comes along or until that guy gets promoted. But does that mean he was a sergeant major? Not really, right? He couldn't retire at the rank. So I think Wall's in a gray area. I know some of the videos you're going to play later. He's definitely implying, if not through omission, that he deployed to Afghanistan, right? Which is certainly not true. Provably not true.
Right. All right, well, let's keep going with this. This is a very interesting interview. By the way, guys, no matter where you are, I'm checking all the chats everywhere. So if you're on Rumble chatting, I'll be getting to you in a second. If you're on the YouTubes, we get the chats popping up here. Feel free to drop us a line here. We'll be glad to talk to you as well.
He was saying.
And he was saying that, and there was lots of lots of cards coming in the mail, for him to be elected. They said right on there he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, just hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in.
A spokesperson for the Minnesota National Guard said Walls wasn't able to retire as a command sergeant major since he failed to complete coursework and requirements related to the rank. Verified documents show the Army corrected his service record. Walls was reduced in rank to an E8 Master Sergeant after retirement and his conditional promotion. Alpha News again asked Governor Walls if he's using the Command Sergeant Major rank on his campaign website for political gain this year. A spokesperson said this has been in the news before and pointed us to a past story where Walls said, quote, "Normally this type of partisan political attack only comes from one who's never worn a uniform."
It's stolen valor is really what it is.
Is it stolen valor or is that hyperbole?
It's damn close, right? But I do want to just go back to what his statement said. I despise when someone says something like, these type of attacks only come from people who probably never wore the uniform. What the hell does that mean, right? You can't have an opinion on abortion if you're not a woman. Like, these are just idiotic statements, right? Any objective person can have an opinion on this. You just showed a document that shows that they had to correct his rank back to E8, but on his own political website, it still says E9, right? So what, only military people can say something? Well, here's a military guy they're interviewing right now, the guy who actually replaced him, CSM Burns, right? So should we listen to him? Okay, we can listen to military people. Let's listen to this guy then. Where is Tim Walz, by the way? He gave a speech the other day saying the same thing, basically, that no one should denigrate his military service. I don't think anybody is, right? They're calling out his lies.
And I think that's where a lot of the hyperbole, though, is where people take it too far. Everyone in politics tend to take things to the nth degree. So when you use phrases like stolen valor, and that could be a debatable point, you're opening up vectors of attack from the other side saying, how dare you even say that, sort of giving up the high ground here, in my opinion, at least from the analysis of a political campaign. And while I understand that he served as a command sergeant major, and he could probably say that he served that, he can't say he retired as that, it feels dishonest, at least from the outside looking in, to sort of hide the ball and play word games like this. Being an attorney, I'm used to being confronted with word games all the time. So when I hear and see material like this, it gets me a little upset. Like, why are you playing hide the ball here? If your service is honorable, and clearly, listen, you were there for 2 decades. Can't just be defined by one moment. I'm sure he served well, and I thank him for his service. But at the same time, you're going out there and you're saying things that are shaded, possibly true, partially true, true under a certain point of view. And it just frustrates me, especially now you're on a national stage and you're saying, this is who I am, and you're not being totally honest with me.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the quantity, right? It's not like he was sort of evasive one time or sort of vague once or twice. Like, the guy over and over and over again intimates that he was there and that he was a certain rank, and he wasn't. Like, it's just a lie. I don't know if you have the clip where he says, we need to ban these weapons of war that I carried in war.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are.
What war did he carry a weapon in?
I can certainly get that in a moment.
How did he make that mistake?
If you like that clip from our new show, Behind Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of What in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
To be. I'm a smiling face on your TV. Oh, I'm a cult of personality. I exploit you, still you love me. I tell you 1 and 1 makes 3. Oh, I'm the cult of personality.
And welcome back into the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. For those of you working for the weekend, you are nearly there. Well, you're not as close as you used to be when I used to do this thing from 3 to 5 every day, but you're still nearly there. For those of you on the East Coast, you got a little less than 3 hours. For those of you in God's time zone, you got a little less than 4. And for those of you on the West Coast, why the hell haven't you moved yet? And look, guys, I'm just going to open kind of the same way I opened before. I don't want these people to California and Minnesota, the rest of America, yo. It's kind of like, remember the old Reese's peanut butter cup commercial? You got your peanut butter and my chocolate. No, you got your chocolate and my peanut butter. I don't want either one of them. Look, they're both communists. Can we just be real with each other for a minute without people getting pissed? They're communist. They don't like America. They want to fundamentally change America. They bought into the entire thing that Barack Obama sold the American people. And if you've listened to the people of color in this country, they are pissed. They are pissed at Obama. Now, black women may like Harris because she's a woman, but black men cannot stand her. I've got a little bit of an insight for you because if you've noticed, some of the polls are shifting. They're showing Trump now coming back in national levels up 2, 3, sometimes as much as 4 points. But that's because they realize that they've been caught doing shenanigans with the weighting. So now they're going to go back to trying to be legit for a little bit, or at least give you the appearance that they are. Or it could be that, let's just be real. Yesterday, the commie llama told everybody, hey, I actually am a communist and I hope you like it. I'm hoping they don't. But I have a question. And this is even coming out to those of you on my side of the aisle that are like, I just can't pull the lever for Trump. I can't do it again. He's just so bad and he's so terrible and it's bigly terrible. Okay, I get that. But if we can't come together to help give all the commies in this country free helicopter rides, along with skydiving lessons, optional parachutes, then what the hell can we come together for? I can't even say this about myself anymore because I'm not a Republican, but the Republican Party ended slavery. The Republican Party changed the world in more ways than one. The Republican Party ended slavery. It passed the Civil Rights Act. And of course, the Democrats got credit because the guy at the top of the ticket was the one that signed it, and he happened to be a Democrat. This is the part that I really don't understand because the information is right in front of you. Look at Detroit. Look at the pictures of Detroit. Just look them up sometime. And then Google, when was the last time there was a Republican mayor in Detroit? When was the last time there was majority Republican council members or whatever the hell it is they call them in Detroit? Then do the same thing for San Francisco and LA and everywhere else that the Democratic mind virus mantra bullshit has stuck. Is this what you want for the rest of the country? I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning. Now that I have to get out in a car, I'm listening to a little bit more talk radio than I used to, taking The Hobbit to school. For anybody who's asking, before anybody yells at me, that is a very well thought out nickname for one of my granddaughters. And it's multiple fold because I had somebody, Why the hell would you call one of your grandkids that? Well, let me explain it to you. One, she came out when she greeted the world. She literally looked like she was already just a super tiny adult because she seemed like she was awake and alert within a couple of days. She was already looking around. She came out with a full head of hair. She's got beautiful big blue eyes, and everybody started calling her baby Snow White. And I'm like, no, 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 we can't do that. Nope. And that's when it occurred to me to start calling her a hobbit because that's what she looked like, was a tiny adult human, just like a hobbit. And then while I'm coming up with the nickname, I was reminded of one of her great grandfathers who she never got the opportunity to meet, who absolutely loved J.R. Tolkien. So my plan, and still is, probably around age 5 or 6, I'm going to start reading the Tolkien books to her so she can understand the universe where her nickname came from, to hopefully give her at least some touchstone to a great grandfather she's never going to get to meet. So with everything, because if I've explained to you the origins of my radio name, then you understand that with most everything I do, there's a lot of thought process that goes into it. And that's why sometimes I just kind of get overwhelmed with everything that I'm trying to do, because I'm typically trying to do figuratively, and actually, so nobody yells at me for the incorrect usage. I am doing about 15 things at a time, and sometimes I just can't keep up with my own brain. I probably have ADHD. I'm old enough that it wasn't really a thing. I don't want to hear about it. I'm not getting put on any weird medication for it. I'm 51 years old. If I haven't figured out how to cope with it by now, I'm never going to, and I really don't care. But all of this to be said was, I'm listening to Glenn Beck today, and he's talking about Montana. And he's talking about, with someone else, I think it was the Attorney General of Montana, I think. Of course, they were talking about Yellowstone and how Yellowstone's no longer being filmed there, and nobody really, everything's kind of up in the air, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Which annoys me, by the way. Absolutely love that show. It's one of the few shows that I still try to keep watching, even after the ex left, that we used to watch together, because I absolutely loved that show. And then it's like, oh, we're not sure what's happening with it. And then they've tried to do like the prequel stuff. I haven't really been able to get into it very well. I've tried, just haven't really been able to do it. Anyway, that could be a me thing, and maybe I'll go back and try again at some point, but not lately, because this next week's gonna suck. DNC's next week. But anyway, so back to Montana. So I was talking about Billings and how it's unrecognizable anymore compared to what it used to look like before, because a bunch of liberals have moved in and they have taken over one of the biggest counties and made it more populous. So now they're starting to be able to affect policy in Montana, and they are slowly Californiaing Montana. This is why I get so pissed off with the leftists who are like, oh my God, California is so bad, I'm going to move now. And then you're going to move somewhere else, and you're going to be like, well, I miss this about California, and I miss this about California, and I miss this about California. So we should start working to raise taxes so we can get the bike trails and all the things that we just have in California. And then you realize after you've done that for 15, 20 years, and you've managed to bring enough of your former cohorts in that vote for stupid shit to do the same thing in the area that you live in now, that you can't afford to live there anymore either. And then you move on to another one. It's funny because there's a line from The Matrix that has always stuck with me. And it's when Agent Smith is talking about how humans are actually parasites and I think he used the word parasites, and not actually cohabitating with Earth, because they're just parasites. Everywhere they go, everything they touch, they destroy. I think he was talking about the left, because look at it. Everything they even try to get you to do to change your life so that you can feel better about all the shit that they tell you should feel better about ultimately destroys something somewhere. That's like Donald Trump was being made fun of the other day for talking about windmills and how they're killing bald eagles because he didn't articulate it very well. Look, I would take that mumbly son of a bitch over Joe Biden 7 days a week and twice on Sunday, and I would take him over Kamala Harris 8 days a week and 4 times on Sunday, and there aren't even 8 days in a week. Because I would much rather have somebody who is trying to take big swings, who is trying to tell us, hey, we can fix this stuff if we work together. Not just, hey, vote for me and I'll bring joy back to America. What kind of joy are you going to bring back to America when nobody can afford to eat? I don't do this anymore. But last night I had to go run an errand for a friend, and because I was adjusting to a new schedule, I'd only eaten once, and I was hungry. So I went to Carl's Jr., which I don't do fast food that often anymore. Normally, if I do, I just go get something like tacos and bring them back because, when you're trying to feed 4 and 5 people, sometimes it gets expensive. So, when you can find stuff that's cheap, you go with it, especially when you're trying to find something to eat in a hurry. So I got a double Western bacon cheeseburger combo, medium fries, and a medium Dr. Pepper, and I paid $16. $16. So let's break that down for a second, shall we? Let's assume that everybody in that restaurant is probably making at least $13 an hour. And from what I could see, there were at least 4 people in the store. They had 3 people, or 2 people on, person on front counter, 1 person on drive-through, and 2 people working the kitchen. So I'm assuming there may or may not have been a manager there somewhere. If there was, I didn't see them. But let's just look at those. Let's just look at those 2 people, and let's take it even $1 lower. Let's assume they're making $11 an hour on average. Do you guys realize that means that they have to sell at least 4 combos an hour just to break even with hourly wage for those 4 people that are working? This doesn't take into account the food costs for the store. This doesn't take into account the food cost or the light cost for the store, the rent for the building, whatever else they're having to pay. And you have to sell 4 an hour minimum to even break even if you have 4 people in a store paying them around $11 an hour and your combos are about $5 a piece. I'm gonna say that probably puts them at break even for the hour. So you're talking about 32 combos, like full on, gotta buy the full combo, get the drink, fries, all of it. That's 32 in 8 hours. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because Kamala Harris, if she gets into the White House, is about to try to attack food production. What do you think is going to happen to places like Carl's Jr. and Brahms and everywhere else when they can't get the bread for their buns? When they can't get the produce for their burgers? When they can't get the beef for the burgers? Because everything is being overcorrected for by the government. There's a reason that I played Lunchtime at the Zoo during the middle break on hour 2, because we are about to Venezuela America. It's not even as bad as Californiaing America at this point. They're about to Venezuela America, and Venezuela is slowly starting to try to pull away from the shit, except for their weird ass elections. But it's just the truth of it. If you guys want communism, then vote for Kamala Harris. And if you're on the fence and you're supposed to be on my side of the aisle, get off the fence. I'm going to say it again. If we can't agree that our primary function as a political group is to make sure that communists never set foot in the White House, then what good are y'all doing anymore? If you are so mad at Donald Trump, if you hate Donald Trump so much, and you want to teach the MAGA crowd a lesson so hard and so badly that you're fine with communists moving into the White House, when, let's face it, they're pretty much already there. Joe Biden's one too. He just hides it a little bit better. Why do you think WAPO, I think it was WAPO. Why do you think WAPO put out the piece they put out today in the opinion section? It wasn't because they don't agree with her. It's because, hey, dumb bitch, you're saying the quiet part out loud. Go back to weird interviews with Tim Walz. Speaking of which, we have that, so I'm probably going to cut to that in a second. Let's see. Yeah, we got time. We can do that and then do the break. Hang on. Well, I say I had it. Where did it go? I had it. I know I did. What did I do? Oh, wait, there it is. Huh. I knew I had it. I knew I had it. All right, one moment, please. Yeah, we'll just do that for now. Replay screen share. Let me share that one. All right. So they finally did something primetime, y'all. Did you see it? Because if not, you're about to.
I have white guy tacos and
What is
like
that?
black,
Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and,
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I'm
You
trying
know
to
it.
expand
We'll figure that-
my food knowledge.
You know what? We've got some cantaloupes. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, I called
was
you,
hoping
Tim.
maybe we wouldn't have to.
I called you, Tim.
Yes.
You didn't answer, Tim.
I know.
What happened?
The most important
I
call of
wouldn't
my
have
life.
answered
It
either.
popped
Don't
up,
feel bad,
and
Tim.
we didn't recognize the caller ID, and it went to voicemail.
Hi, this is Tim. I'm not able to answer.
There you
go. Thank you.
Hey, Tim, it's Kamala. I really want to talk to you.
It is an amazing privilege for me. Also, I'm excited. I just want to be part of the excitement that you're generating.
Well,
So
we're doing it together, buddy.
fun.
We're doing it together. How have these last couple of days been for you?
I can see where the energy comes. America is a hopeful country.
Indeed.
People are excited.
In every one of those groups of thousands, sometimes over 10,000 people, you've seen exactly who we are as America.
Yeah.
People from rural areas, urban areas, of every stripe and size and background. This is who we are as America, and we're
Yeah.
all in it together.
Yeah.
And in this campaign, the only way we win is to keep the pedal to the metal for these next many, many days that we have. So, Tim, what's your relationship to music?
Yeah. For me, the transformational piece of music was Bruce Springsteen's The River,
Okay.
which is a journey. You know all the tracks,
Yeah.
and I'm that guy. My first car, it's the summer 1980, been
Uh-huh.
saving up. I buy a 1973 orange Chevy Camaro, got an 8-track player in it.
Oh, wow.
Previous owner left Bob Seger's Night Moves in there. I listened to it, and it's kind of the soundtrack of my life of Detroit's own Bob Seger. But what's really great about this is I have a 79 International as my car. It's got an 8-track player in it. I have the very 8-track to this day.
You're kidding
No,
me.
and no, but how about you?
I grew up, so all these albums here, I mean, Aretha, my mother had every Aretha album, and like our Christmas gift to my mother, her birthday gift was always like, what's the latest Aretha Franklin record?
So it's on vinyl in your house as a
all of it. Wow. All that and Stevie. And then Miles, and my dad loved jazz, and so it was Miles, it was Coltrane. One of my personal favorite musicians for when I was younger was Prince. And of course from your estate.
Yeah.
And he, in fact, I'll tell you, so my husband Doug and I'm more of a hip hop girl.
Yeah.
He's more of Depeche Mode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, about the same
but
time.
yeah, I'm sure you
no,
and he
of
like the same
course.
music.
Of course. So.
But Prince, in the Venn diagram of things, Prince, he and I love the same because, I mean, talk about how Prince was with that guitar, man. I almost know by heart every one of those songs.
I feel like a trip to Paisley Park is going to happen here if the staff
It's on my bucket list, I'll tell you
good.
that. Tell me about your dad and his influence on you.
Yeah.
He served our country. You have served for our country for so many years.
Yeah. I was 19. My little brother, I think, was eight or nine when he passed. He was a chain smoker, just addicted. They got a Korean War era, and that generation of men pretty stoic. After he died, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She became our rock, and now she had to go out and get work because the medical bills broke her. And Social Security.
Wait, hang
and
on.
Social Security
Yeah.
survivor benefits. We're fine pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We had no
Or
boots.
now I'm really
That's the boots.
Hang on.
And it's influence on you.
Yeah.
He served our country. You have served for our country for so many years.
Yeah. I was 19. My little brother, I think, was eight or nine when he passed. He was a chain smoker. Just addicted. They got a Korean War era, and that generation.
And his influence on you.
Yeah.
He served our country. You have served for our country for so many years.
Yeah. I was 19. My little brother, I think, was eight or nine when he passed. He was a chain smoker. Just addicted. They got a Korean War era, and that generation of men pretty stoic. After he died, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She became our rock, and now she had to go out and get work because the medical bills broke her, and Social Security. And Social Security survivor benefits. We're fine pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We had no boots. That's the boots.
And it's survival,
We paid
literally.
it back. It is survival. We all paid it back. So programs that are just fundamental to keeping people from dropping into poverty, but to live with dignity. You keep talking about that.
We got to help people get through a hard time. We can't have a country and policies that let people fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
I love what you have done with your life. You were coaching a high school football team that was winless.
Yes.
And you came in, and so they were clearly the underdogs.
And it's
what happened?
Yeah, it's a team. And I had great coaches with me, and we were friends, and we buckled down. And look, I was a fairly big school, but nobody wanted to play because they hadn't won. And this group of coaches said, first and foremost, we gotta build the team. We got to go out and find people. So we invited them in. And I'll be honest, the first year, we did not score a touchdown until the last game of the year. We got shut out in every game. My high score until the final game was my defensive tackle because we got a safety in one game. 2 years later, those kids won a state championship. That school has won several more since then after we left. You build culture. You build winning.
Right.
People want to be a part of it. And that's the excitement. That's the excitement of what it can be.
That's how I feel about our campaign.
Yeah.
Our campaign is the underdog campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And with our joy, we also have to understand that we're still up against some forces
Yes.
that are
You're
trying
the
to divide
underdog
our country.
campaign. You've
It
got the
pains me
media
the kind
pulling
of
for you. You've
division
got
and the stoking of divisions that has taken place, right? And when we can remind people and create a space for everyone to come where they see each other
That's
and
the
say,
magic.
hey,
They're
we're all
getting-
in this together.
It almost feels like everybody's coming out of their house after a blizzard and, a Minnesota reference, and you shovel out, and then you start talking to your neighbors.
Yeah.
How was it the last couple of days or whatever it might be? They're re-energizing, and they're looking for their neighbors. We keep saying,
That's
keep talking
right.
about the
Yeah.
promise of America, and we say, take care of your neighbor.
In the face of a stranger, when you're looking in the face of a stranger, you should see a neighbor, right?
Yeah. I'm about crying on this when you talk about, look, a girl from Oakland, California, and a guy from out in Nebraska on there. And the number of people I watch just kind of nod and break into a smile. This exploiting the differences, it can't last. I talk about it being halftime in America. We're a touchdown down because a lot of folks, it's easier to tear things down. It's easier to divide than it is to build. But once you start that momentum, once we come out and where we're at right now, people want to be part of something that's winning. They want to be part of something that's good, and they want to be part of something that everybody can be a part of. And I kind of like the idea of being a little bit behind.
Well, I'm looking at Coach Walls right now. I'm looking at Coach Walls.
Did you always know you wanted to be an attorney?
My parents met when they were active in the civil rights movement. I grew up around a bunch of people that were, marching and shouting for justice. And some of the heroes of that movement were the lawyers, Thurgood Marshall, right? They understood how to translate the passion from the streets to the courtrooms of our country. And they believed in the Constitution of the United States and the principles upon which it was founded. And that's where they then, in the courts of America, reminded us of the promise, right? And the ideals of our country, including equality, freedom, right? That's why I went to law school. But the other reason is when I was in high school, my best friend, I learned, was being molested by her stepfather. And when I realized what was happening, I told her, you have to come live with us. I called my mom. I have to tell you, Tim, it was the first time that I realized how not everyone can take their safety for granted.
Yeah.
And what we should all feel as a sense of responsibility to protect people from harm.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided I want to be a prosecutor.
Wow.
And as a prosecutor, I prosecuted homicide cases. I prosecuted a number of different types of cases, but I specialized in child sexual assault cases. And one of the things I did was create a whole unit dedicated to focusing on children who are being abused and to ensure that they have dignity in the process and justice. There's so much work that we still have to do to make sure that children have a voice.
For me, that's kind of with me. Get in as a teacher. It's about the kids and wherever you teach.
Right.
Once I had my own children, it became so clear to me, and I think it made me a really good teacher.
Yeah.
That child who came through the door was somebody's most special thing in their life.
Absolutely.
Thinking of a parent dressing their little one up and sending them off to school so proud of them, I wanted to come through that door and just lift them up, that sense of service.
And
it's
it's great to be
interesting,
in
two different
Detroit.
parts of the country, two different lived experiences, but all coming to that same goal of everybody getting a fair shot.
Well, I have to tell you, Tim, even though you and I grew up in different parts of the country, you remind me of the people I grew up with. Hardworking folks, plain speaking.
Yeah.
People who know the difference between right and wrong.
Yep.
And care, love thy neighbor in the most authentic and true way.
Yeah.
Those are the folks I grew up with, and I know that's who you are. And I'm so glad we're doing this together.
I'm proud to be with you.
All right, so there you have their first primetime event where basically they decided to interview each other. That was kind of awesome, wasn't it? Do I need to do the sarcasm air quotes? Because that was really kind of awesome. All right, so we're going to take the bottom of the hour break. Then when we come back, we've got a lightning round. We're going to do top 10 headlines you might have missed for the week. I found it through an account that I will give credit to when we come back, but figured it'd be kind of fun. If you've been listening to this show, you probably haven't missed too much. But just in case, all right, we're going to take a break. Bottom of the hour, one more segment coming at you on the other side. I'm Rick Robinson. This is my show. We typically do this thing every Monday through Friday now between the hours of 1 and 3 Eastern. We may actually be going to noon to 3 soon. If we do, it will be probably first week in September. However, we got a little bit more work to do before I can punch out for today, at least for this show. Don't forget, I'll also be back tonight doing He Said, She Said, 8:30 p.m. Eastern with the lovely Aggie Rican. And also, don't forget at 5 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing Behind Enemy Lines. You actually saw a clip of that earlier today. So make sure you come back and check out the whole thing. Or if you don't want to wait till 5, as soon as I'm done, you can go check it out on Gene's YouTube channel. I don't really care who gets the credit for watching it, as long as somebody watches it. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Talking away. I don't know what to say. I'll say it anyway. Today is another day to find you shying away. I'm coming for your love, okay? Take on me. Take on me. Take me on. Take on me. I'll be gone. Suddenly, less to say. I'm upset, but I'll be stumbling away.
And it helps if I remember to unmute myself. Welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Robinson, final segment of the Friday edition of my show. Again, as a reminder, we do this thing every Monday through Friday, except for the first Monday of the month. Now, noon to, wait, I'm sorry, that's my time. 1 to 3 Eastern. I'm just going to start giving it out in Central Time. Fuck y'all, East Coasters. Y'all are the ones ruining. You West Coasters and East Coasters are slowly ruining the world for the most part. The only people I can not say that about are maybe Florida. I don't even know why like Alabama and Georgia are for the most part in Eastern Time Zone. Seems weird to me. Anyway, welcome back. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. Yeah, Raptor, that infomercial is gonna win a lot of support. For the low info crowd, it actually may, which is the scary part. All right, so I'm going to put this up on screen so you guys can see where I'm pulling it from because I want to make sure that I give them credit. Hang on, I got to find them again. Where did it go? I have too many tabs open. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. All right, so this is from somebody that I follow who isn't following me back, so I don't know why I'm giving her free press, but I thought it was a cool idea, so I may actually start trying to generate something like this on my own. So I don't have to keep giving somebody credit who doesn't follow me. But anyway, no, I'm not bitter. Not at all. Actually, I'm really not. I don't cultivate following to try to, and I don't do it for that reason. So let me get on the right screen. So when I share it, you guys can actually see it. All right, so you guys should be able to see it now. This is from at Terrible 808. Top 10 headlines you might have missed this week. Coming in at number 10, RFK Jr. says he has no intention of endorsing Kamala Harris. Should he endorse Trump instead? I don't know if it would help, to be honest. I do think if it were me and I were Donald Trump, I would be courting him for a cabinet position. I'm not even going to lie. Because Donald Trump only has 4 years to disassemble a terrible monster of a deep state, and Kennedy wants to do most of it for him. So if I know I don't have the ear of anybody in the campaign, but I have been tagging you guys a lot lately. So if I've managed to get on any of your radars, you probably need to bring Kennedy into the cabinet because he wants to dismantle the FBI and the CIA, probably even more than Donald Trump does. And that's saying a lot. Not to mention turning him loose against the rest of the administrative deep state. Because Donald Trump may have been a bull in a china shop in the campaign in 2016. Kennedy would be a bull in a china shop against the deep state, and nothing would make me happier. Can I be honest? Number 9, not surprising at all, the new Wu flu has been chosen. Number 9, monkeypox has now been detected in San Francisco, California wastewater. Is anyone surprised? I know I'm not. Anyone? Bueller? Number 8, Elon Musk and Donald Trump interview on X surpasses 1 billion combined views in 24 hours. But of course, nobody was paying attention. Number 7, FBI concerned about potential attack at the DNC in retaliation for Trump's attempted assassination. Wait, why would I thought they laid it all at the feet of a kid who was belonged to a family of Trump supporters? Why would the FBI have concerns about that? That seems a little weird. Does that seem a little weird to anyone else? Maybe it's just me. Number 6, Texas Governor Abbott, who, even though I love my governor, kind of wish he was still mine, being honest. Texas governor signs executive order for hospitals to bill the federal government for treating illegal immigrants. Really wish they would change that to migrants, but that's just my preference. Number 5, President Joe Biden affirms that top Democrats pushed him out of the presidential race, top Democrats being Nancy Pelosi. Number 4, Rep. Jim Banks calls for an investigation into Tim Walz's repeated visits to China. They probably should have done that before they vetted the dude, because something about this guy just seems all kinds of wrong. Coalition of 24 states, this is number 3, backs Arizona's law requiring proof of citizenship for voter registration. Funny how all of a sudden everybody's getting serious about trying to fix the elections. I wonder why that is, because they've had 4 years. Seems a little slow to come to the trough. Number 2, Trump says he told Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu to end the war. The killing has to stop. Easy solution. Turn Gaza to glass. Make Gaza glass again. I need to put that on a t-shirt. Somebody would probably buy it. Nice nuclear explosion with the outline of the Make America Great Again logo and Make Gaza glass again. Somebody would probably buy it. I need to put that on a t-shirt. All right, number 1. The FBI secretly released Trump shooter Thomas Crook's body to be cremated without notifying the coroner. That doesn't seem shady at all. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I already follow her, so I'm going to go ahead and follow the instructions and tweet out and post and repost the original, or like and repost the original. So, but anyway, so there's that. So there's another one that I want to get to real quick. This is what I consider the bonus cut of the headlines. So Trump has released the information about who he's putting on his presidential transition team. So this is from X. So former President Donald Trump has announced the leadership of his presidential transition team, which includes none other than, hang on, I got to fix something. Linda McMahon. Yes, I said. Yes, that Linda McMahon. WWE. Former, I think, co-chair, I think was the role she had at one point. Yeah, so she's actually coming aboard the transition team for Donald J. Trump. Tell me they're not seriously trying to come hard at the youth vote right now. I'm just saying. And I don't blame them. I'm just saying. I think Jen had a valid point, though. A lot of the youth vote, while they make a lot of noise, a lot of them do stay home. So I don't know how much it's going to help, but we'll see. Because, again, keep in mind, the polling lately has been so far skewed that I'm surprised she's not up by 20 points. I think I tail-ended a point earlier that I'm going to come back to in a minute when I finish this because I got sidetracked. So on the team, also, other than Linda McMahon, is Howard Lutnick as co-chair. Well, actually, I guess it's McMahon and Lutnick as co-chairs. Senator J.D. Vance is an honorary chair, and his sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, also serving in honorary chair roles. The team is expected to steer policy and personnel efforts as Trump prepares for a potential return to the White House. The announcement has sparked discussions online and among political figures, with some highlighting the inclusion of Trump's family members and donors in key roles. Yeah. Look, the one thing that I will say about Donald Trump is even if he's doing things that you guys don't necessarily like, at least he's honest about it, because these same things have been happening. I mean, hell, they just like a month ago, actually, I guess it was about 6 weeks ago, because it was right before Biden got thrown off the bus, said what I said. They admitted that Biden's staff referred to Hunter as the de facto chief of staff. So this stuff happens all the time. The difference is he doesn't hide it from you. He doesn't even try to hide it from you. He's like, yeah, I'm going to bring my family in. I mean, at this point, who the hell else can he trust? That's my question for everybody that's making a big deal about this. Who the hell else can this man trust as of right now? He's got the DOJ coming after him. He's got people trying to kill him. He's got people that hate him just because I don't know why. I mean, I've never been a huge fan, if I'm being completely honest. I never really have, but I became a fan. You guys know my backstory. I was never Trump in 2016. I didn't like the idea of this man running so badly that I left the party, and I helped establish the Libertarian Party in Oklahoma until, well, actually not establish, but get them on the ballot because they were already here. They just had no ballot access. I was one of the people going out and pushing for petitions to be signed and getting it done because I wanted to give people other options. But what I have discovered is elections are not binary. The consequences of the elections are, because there are still really only two tickets that get enough momentum to make a difference in how policy is implemented in this country. And it turns out to be the party on the right and the party on the left. And the party on the left has increasingly become more and more and more communist. They were ready to run a communist in 2016. This is why I think that despite everybody in the media telling her it's a bad idea, this is why I think Kamala Harris is starting to put out ideas that sound rather Marxist and rather Chavez-ish, because she knows that the youth in her party want to give it a shot. But that's not enough. See, here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. The everyday average Democratic voter is sheep. They're sheep. That's what they are. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be a dick. I know I managed to pull it off usually without trying, but I promise in this instance that's not what I'm trying to do. Sorry, I forgot I was not on my camera screen anymore. I'm just being honest. They are sheep. There are people on the right that are also sheep. There are people that will go along with whoever the nominee is no matter what. But at some point, you have to make a decision. And this is where I am. Because I'm going to be honest, until they tried to shoot him, I was on the fence still. I was probably going to vote for him. It doesn't matter in my state, if I'm being completely honest, which is why when I hear anybody in Oklahoma saying, well, I don't really plan on voting for the guy this time. Dude, all 77 counties went red. The only thing your vote would help, which is why I encourage everybody to do it, is the popular vote. Because at this point, unless we want to keep having the argument about whether we're going to be capitalist or communist, we need to not only win the Electoral College, but we need to win the popular vote by an overwhelming majority. And this ties back in to a point that I was trying to make earlier, and I don't think I did, because I mentioned that in New York, and this is with heavily weighted polls, by the way, she's only up by 14 points in New York. In, as my good friend Gene calls it, the People's Republic of New York, the Commie Llama is only up by 14 points. She should be in at least 32 to 34 points in New York. In order to win the popular vote, because of the population there, because it's New York and California that usually make that happen, she'd have to be up by at least 26. If these numbers stay the way they are right now, not only is she likely not going to win the Electoral College, she's likely to lose the popular vote. Now, this doesn't mean that I want every Republican within the sound of my voice and every person that's willing to vote for Donald Trump within the sound of my voice to start doing a happy dance and be like, oh, you mean I don't have to worry about trying to go to the polls? No, that's not what that means. That means if you don't think you're going to be able to go to the polls, figure out how your early voting works in your state and do it. If you can do mail-in balloting and you're afraid you're not going to be able to get out there that day because of the weather or whatever, do it. And here's my other suggestion. Mail in your ballot and then go vote in person. Because that way, either way, you know your vote counts and it doesn't get thrown away. Because we've now, I said this earlier in the week, there was a Facebook post from somebody, and I believe it was in Minnesota, that was working a specific district. I don't know what they called them there. I don't remember. Who basically said, I think they, precinct maybe, everybody that was working my precinct, including me, threw away every Donald Trump ballot that we could find, and I am not sorry at all. This is what we are up against. You guys have to understand. The Soros family is the one pulling the strings for the Democratic Party. They used to be assets of America. They were used by the CIA to go in and sow unrest everywhere that we wanted to bring democracy to. And then at some point, when they amassed a huge fortune, because they did it all as contract work, along with, I mean, they already had a fortune. Let's not even try to pretend they didn't. But now they're super wealthy. And part of that is because they were the ones that we sent in to foment agitation everywhere. Why do you think they're doing it here now? They're taking everything that the CIA taught them how to do, and they have turned it home because we're the final domino. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before, and since we have a lot of new listeners lately, I'm going to say it again. The original plan after World War II was to tie all of the economies of the world together to make sure that we could never have anything this catastrophic again, because nobody thought we were going to have one after the first one. Then the plan was to put together things like the UN and NATO and everything else to start being able to build a centralized area, central planning. I understand, but I don't know if you've caught on yet. To try to go into third world countries, boost them up to first, second world status, and then first world status, so that we could all figure out how to come together as one world with a central government. And they tried it over and over and over again. And in about the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, they gave up because it wasn't working the way they wanted it to, and it wasn't working fast enough. So what they figured out is it's much easier to tear things down than it is to build them up. If you need any more proof, just look at what happens to your child's self-esteem the first time you dress them down. I'm not calling anybody out for it. I'm just saying, if you need proof of how things work, best thing to do is go back and look at nature. When you dress somebody down and you tear them down, eventually you have the option to build them back up in whatever image you want. It's the primary focus and training method of our basic training. You tear down the person they were before and you build them back in your image. So they decided to do that. So you have to remember, in 1913, they passed the 16th Amendment, which made us the batteries powering the machine. So then they set apart and kept trying to slowly whittle away at the idea of women not being equal. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But from a lot of the women that I know, they're pissed off that they have to work now. There are women that I know that would rather stay home and take care of the house and take care of the kids and not have to deal with all of that, because they still wind up having to do most of that anyway. Because the men still work longer. And dare I say harder in some cases. Not all of them. So don't say, hate mail. Rick at KLRNRadio, let them fly. I don't care. I'm just being honest right now. But this is where we are. So then in the 60s, they started really fomenting the idea that women deserved equality. But nobody really wants to talk about what started happening around that same time. Everything started getting more expensive. I saw a post today and I pulled, or yesterday, and I stole it from somebody and tagged it, but I found it rather interesting because, and I don't remember the exact date, so I may be fudging it a little bit, but I believe it said somewhere around 1964, minimum wage was, I think they said, was it 10 dimes? I think. Because if I remember right, I think it broke down to like $1 an hour. So it was 10 90% silver dimes. If we still had 90% silver dimes and you tried to sell them today, those 10 dimes would be worth $34. Minimum wage isn't the problem. It's the fact that they've made our money worthless. That's the problem. This is why Kamala Harris's policies are not going to work. It's why they're not going to fix anything. Because Elon Musk nailed it in the spaces with Donald Trump. Inflation is created by the government putting too much money into the system, because the more money that is in the system, the less value your money has. The less value your money has, the more you have to spend to be able to earn, to get the things that you used to get. So it's not price gouging. What's happening is you've got the government flooding the market with money. You've got businesses trying to keep prices the same. So they're shrinking the size of a lot of the products to try to make sure that it's not hitting your wallet as hard as it was. But it doesn't really matter, because now you've got to buy 1.5 times what you were buying before to get the same amount, even though they're doing everything they can to keep the prices the same. And I figured this out the other day because, this is not something I've had to do in a long time, but we've been eating a lot of Hamburger Helper in the last few months. Because now that I do freelance work and there's a bunch of different contracts, sometimes I get paid at random times of the month, and every so often it gets a little tight. I'm not bitching about that. It was my choice. But so we've been eating more Hamburger Helper. And I noticed the other day when I went to go pick up a box, one box says this box has servings of 3. The next box says this box has servings of 4. And I'm like, so great. Now I have to buy basically 2 boxes of the 4 to get what we used to get in the 1, and 3 boxes of the one that serves 3 to get what we used to get out of that one. A little bit over, but come on. Who the hell eats the serving sizes on the box? So even back when it used to say feed 6, it used to feed 4, unless you're doing like, got that is the main dish, couple of vegetables and something else to go with it. And who the hell has the time to do all that? But that's exactly what I'm talking about. They're about to make things worse by trying to tell you that it's the store's fault. Because we're going to go after price gouging. There hasn't been any price gouging. There hasn't been any shrinkflation. These people are trying to keep your cost down so that you'll keep coming back to the store and keep buying their products. That's all this is. Everybody in this country right now is in survival mode. I saw an interview today with somebody that retired while Trump was in office, kind of feeling his pain, who has had to return to work because she had everything in place and was actually living within her means and still had money left over at the end of every month. And now she doesn't. So now she's having to go back to work part-time. So this is another thing. All of these numbers, look how good everything is. We've got numbers for employment that are awesome. Yeah, that's because you've got a lot of migrants taking jobs from working age Americans. Now you've got a lot of retirees taking jobs from working age Americans because they can't afford to stay retired anymore. And every bit of this is Kamala Harris's fault. If she was going to fix any of this, day one for her was over 1,000 days ago. I would just like to point that in. Day one for her being in office was over 1,000 days ago. And I don't care if you like it. It doesn't matter to me whether you like it or not. because it's just the truth. All right, so we have hit the point where I do have to tell you, unfortunately, this particular show is just about over. Also, just as a reminder, this is the 2-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act, and if it works so well, why is the top of the ticket now, or as I like to call them now, the Harris-Biden administration, why is Miss Harris, otherwise known as Kamala Hamasnik, if it's working so well, why is she calling for price controls? You can't make this shit up. All right. We are over. We are out of here. So I do have to tell you, this one is over. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'll be back tonight.
Say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the woods.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. Game over.
It's only for the afternoon. Come back tonight. It's not goodbye forever, just for now.
The places you will be from. Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.